the industry is extremely close to your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we'd like to appreciate Mr. Niraj Dumel's presence here. And so, Mr. Ganesh Devanagam, would you make a presentation of this healthy package for Mr. Niraj as a gift of thanks? Let us pause a moment or two till the impact of his address sinks in. In the meantime, I'm sure many of you douse yourself with several cups of tea during the day, and I'm also equally sure that by evening, the beverage is a little stronger. On one Sunday morning, with the Sunday papers, there was this leaflet which came in the papers, and it said, "Are you an acute alcoholic? If so, call us now." Now was in bold, underlined. "We can help you." So all day my wife nagged me to call that number. And I'm really glad I did in the evening, because it was a wine store offering buy two, get one free. Ladies and gentlemen, your new chairman has a task ahead of him to lift the industry in many of the directions that the Tea Board chairman spoke of, and to assist exporters achieve those goals of $1.8 billion per year. As he said, the country needs it more than ever before. May I invite Mr. Ganesh Devanagam to address you.
Dr. Ramesh Pathirana, Minister of Plantation Industries, Mr. Niraj Dumel, Chairman Tea Board, past Chairman of the Tea Board. We have the Chairman of the EDB here as well, dignitaries and officials of the Tea Board, the Plantation Ministry, other government institutions, the Chamber CEO is here, fellow members of the TEA, other stakeholders of the tea industry, the brokers, the planters, smallholders, factory owners, many service providers to the tea industry, almost 450 of you filling this hall, probably a record number for the Tea Exporters Association and probably for one of the AGMs of the tea stakeholder associations, I believe. My greetings to all of you, and thank you again, the committee of the TEA, for bringing me here in front of you to serve. My dear friends, I have sat in this august audience for many years before, listening to some of the stalwarts of the tea industry, always listening with awe and listening with inspiration walking out of here. I also used to think, I cannot forget some of the moments when the speakers used to speak about the continuous problems, the challenges, the struggle that, as the industry we have continued to face. Also, they speak about, the deteriorating discipline in the auction room. Thankfully, we don't have the auction room anymore, so they can't say that. Of the good old days. And I used to think, shouldn't this meeting be more about what we need to do, what the future should be, what the new generation of the youngsters who want to come into the industry should be, rather than, what's going wrong and what is difficult. Yeah, this is a thought that I used to have sitting amongst the audience. And sometimes, I used to think, it is probably useful to get a bit depressed, from the speeches, because it gives us a good excuse to get ourselves drowned in the great cocktails that always presented at the Tea Exporters Association meetings. But I am in front of you today at probably one of the most challenging situations this beautiful country of ours have ever faced. Tea production at a 23-year low. Interest rates, which is one of the key aspects of a working capital intensive trade like tea exports, at one of the highest crushing levels. Prices, the buyers are refusing to pay. Freight rates at dizzying heights. Vessels not calling and omitting, that's what I was told today. 3 containers are not moving out on Monday because the vessels omitted the Colombo port. Yes, so we do have problems whichever year, whether I'm sitting there, whether I'm standing here, those are the problems this industry is having. But I prefer, having listened to the Tea Board chairman and our great minister, Dr. Ramesh Patirana, my chairman, I will still refer to him as chairman, have gone through in detail the problems we're facing. I think my task today, I would like to take it on as something to reflect, something to find that silver lining in the black cloud, as Dr. Patirana said when he walked into the hall a little while ago. So let me start with a few words which I incidentally found in the notes of my late father, Mr. D. Eswaran, whom many of you may remember. It's apt that I bring him in on this occasion. So he used to keep his notes of many things during his speeches and so on. I would like to remember him as someone who passionately tried to bring the trade together for more practical purposes, like penetrating a market or getting a tender organized and so on. So a few words from his notes. I believe it is from Rabindranath Tagore. Strike me and strike me again. I can bear still more. Do not make my life a failure by playing on soft tunes. The tea industry has been very resilient, whether it be COVID, whether it be I won't say the F word, whether it be all the challenges that are continuously thrown at us, we have been resilient and we have been able to take the strikes on and on. Dear friends, we are gathered here for a purpose, and I believe there is a purpose. That's why we are, together in a room. And that is, we are fortunately in Sri Lanka, while every other industry and business is going through much more hardship, we are fortunate to be in an industry which is able to sustain itself and is also important for the sustenance of this country. And we have to definitely admit that it is a blessing. But with a blessing also comes great responsibility, as our Tea Board chairman said. It is time for us to extend and look beyond our companies, our own employees, to look at the whole industry as well as the whole country, which we have already started doing under the leadership of our earlier chairman. And I'm indeed thankful and privileged to be able to serve this great association. It has a very robust membership. And I was, one of our tea trade colleagues mentioned a couple of days ago that, the tea exporters have become like the glue, the bonding, the pivot that brings all the stakeholders together. And, we've been in the middle. Sometimes some people come and ask, oh, what do you, I'm a tea exporter, so do you produce tea? No, we don't produce tea. So what exactly are you guys doing in Sri Lanka? What we do is bringing the industry together to ensure that somebody out there who wants to have the same cup of Ceylon tea every morning, that we make sure that it is available for them in their kitchen cabinet. That's the role that we play within the industry, a small cog of the whole machinery. We, the tea exporters, of course, is a great bunch. And as we know, we have always stood together, whether it be getting ready to, rally around to supply the fuel when it was needed. Now we, under the guidance of the plantation ministry, with talking about bringing fertilizer and embracing the online auctions with some of the great work done ever in this country when it comes to automation, the previous one as well as the current one. And mind you, we should be proud to say that we have in place one of the most transparent trading systems for commodities in the world, we can say. Thanks to the embracing of this by the broker community as well as the tea exporters. And also we have stood together when we see wrongdoing within our own trade. That's the camaraderie, that's the coming togetherness of the tea industry. While there is healthy competition, we have stood together in that gentlemanly manner. Yes, there are instances of wrongdoing and problems, but on the whole, I still feel this is an industry or trade that like no other. And we are fortunate to have Dr. Ramesh Patirana as our minister, and none other than Mr. Niraj Dimel as our Sri Lanka Tea Board chairman. And it is an opportune moment in the history of our country. As we all know, we do have an opening of a window of opportunity to make that change, which the Tea Board chairman mentioned. It is the requirement of us all coming together to use this window, get in to make that change. There have been a lot of thinking, a lot of work done by the past chairman of associations, of the Tea Board, of some of the great academics of our universities, to look at how we can change this 150-year-old industry to take it to the next century. And there's a lot of work done by the Ceylon Tea Roadmap, the CTRM. Now, bringing it all together by way of a national policy for tea is something that we should take away from the guidance given by the minister as well as the Tea Board chairman. It is a takeaway to work towards that national policy, which will take us to that $8, $10 a kilo specialty tea of hundreds of millions of kilos, not just a few kilos of specialty tea. So that national policy will enable us and probably break some of the shackles that we feel that are pulling us down to achieve that. And I think we as a trade should work with the government as well as the authorities to make that happen. And in order to enable that to happen, brings me to the next point that I just want to highlight. I'm not going to be talking for too long, so don't worry. I have been given 15 minutes. My objective is to do it much below that. So to bring about that national policy or change, our only request which we probably would like to put in front of the minister as well as all the other authorities that who are gathered here and not here as well, is to treat us not as even your partners, but treat us as your team. We wish to be part of the team Sri Lanka, which should include the private sector as well as the public sector. We are ready to serve. This is something that we speak all the time in our association committee meetings, that people of the private sector are ready to come forward and make this change, whether it be the chamber or whether it be our own association. Where decisions are taken that will affect us, we definitely want to be on that table. Please do have us on that table. We will make sure that those decisions are better, not just for one or two, not just for the industry, but for the country. And that's the passion of the new leadership that we have here in the private sector. And I believe, all of us, this is once again, I'm repeating this, but because this is a very important point, I believe every one of us, I would say at least the vast majority of us, we wake up in the morning and come to work to do good. Nobody is waking up thinking, oh, I'm going to, destabilize this business or do something against the government's regulations. We all wake up thinking to do good for us, for our families, for our companies, and of course, for our country. However, if there is an opportunity that is presented to legally make money, definitely that is in our DNA, that is our dharma to make sure that we make use of that opportunity. So it only will make sense to have us as part of that team that is making decisions that will affect us, so that we will bring it in front of you, those opportunities, and make those opportunities right for the country. I want to, this is something that I mentioned to the minister. He may not, I would like to repeat it once again amongst you. The exporters, not just the tea exporters, whether it's the apparel, whether it's any other, day in and day out, we are given an order where we need to procure the tea from various estates, put it all together. Sometimes if it's a value-added export, that we bring the paper from maybe Turkey or Spain, or thread from India, tagged paper from Italy, machinery is of course from Germany, and so on and so forth. All of it put together, let's say in Sedavatta, the tag is printed in Kadavatta, wherever. We bring all of this together, despite the problems we are having, maybe with COVID, maybe with vessels not reaching on time here or in the destination. All of these issues and logistics put together, we have sometimes a window of 1 week to have the product on the shelf in a store in the United States or in Europe or in Japan. And we are doing that day in and day out. And that is the only reason why we are getting these the customers coming back to us. Not that only reason, of course. Ceylon tea being there inside is the key reason. But our ability to do all this is a key reason. And the private sector has the skill and the ability to do this every day. Kindly use these skills for the benefit of our country, to make sure that there is fertilizer, to make sure that there is fuel, to make sure that everything is available. And this, once again, is the request that we wish to place in front of the government and the authorities. In all of this talk, we should not forget as an association what we can do. So the future is, of course, taking from the electronification of the tea auctions. There is a lot more that as a industry, as tea exporters, the TEA members can get together and do. Maybe it's a buyer's portal, maybe it's an electronic marketplace, maybe getting together and doing things that will penetrate into newer markets. So that's another takeaway, I believe, that we should work together, and the TEA will definitely roll out plans to bring better minds to put something like that in the near future. And last not but the least, we cannot forget to mention that it is the heartbeat of this industry is in the person who is plucking those 2 leaves and a bud. It is in that person who is putting the fertilizer for the plant. It is in that person who is running the machinery at the factories in the tea gardens. And as an association, we have continued to do whatever we can, but I think we need to take one more step up and partner with organizations like the PHTT, the Plantation Human Development Trust, and other organizations to give that back, give beyond what we are looking at from the price of tea. I think those are the things that, as an association, we need to make the change to move forward. So it looks like, I was just gushing out my thoughts and dreams of many of my colleagues. It's not just mine. And I wish to summarize these so that we have some takeaways. We do have a lot of work to do. We have very, very large shoes to fill. If any of you have seen Sanjay's shoes, you would understand what it is. If you have not seen, you have the opportunity during cocktail to look at his shoes. They are absolutely large shoes to fill. And he's done a remarkable, wonderful job. He's a fearless, was the word that we've just heard. He's a fearless person. I don't know how he has the time to talk to everyone. Out of these list of sponsors, 80% is brought together by Sanjay. That's why he was thanking again and again the sponsors, right? So we do have a task at hand. And I'm relatively a newcomer to the trade. I mean, I was there in the trade and I left and I've come back. And I don't believe that I'm in any particular way qualified. Again, one of my tea colleagues here, once when we were discussing, what qualification do we have, he said, we have nothing. The only qualification we have is that we are the father's son. Many of us are like that. So, despite that, we have the passion, and above all, we are dwarfs standing on the shoulders of giants, as the saying goes. And the giants, many giants who are sitting here, and that gives us that extra qualification to see further, see farther, and make the change that we need to make for this beautiful country, which we all call ours as our motherland. So let me come back to the 4 takeaways. A new national policy, bringing together all the thinking like the CTRM, the academics, the Sri Lanka Tea Board have done in the past to make that national policy a reality as soon as possible, and make that as the reason for the real change, that the reboot of the system, as we referred to. Insisting and coming forward positively to be part of the government decision making where it affects us. We cannot sit back. We've got to stand up and ask to be heard. And the trade coming together with newer developments, with technology and so on, to make ourselves even more sharper, even more better, like the electronic platform, and making even better use of the great online auction system that we have. and of course, making a positive impact on the real people who make this industry, the plantation community, and the smallholders. Sounds like a plan. Let me end again with a quote, rather a prayer, I should say, from Rabindranath Tagore. And there are a couple of lines which are quite relevant to everything that, the chairman and our minister and the T-board chairman said. So it reads as, where the mind is without fear. This is a prayer from Gitanjali of Tagore. Where the mind is without fear and head held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where the tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. And this is quite important, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary dead sands of dead habit. Clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary dead sands of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into the ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Thank you.
Thank you, Ganesh, for sharing your vision